The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of OLOS Media or its sponsors.
Coming this summer, OLOS Media is proud to present From the Nest with Charity Jen. But why don't we start by just telling us, what is Charity Jen?
So Charity Jen really started as my way of introducing myself within the online communities. I started all of my social platforms as Charity Jen, and it just kind of grew from there. Really just kind of getting out there, getting to know nonprofits. That's when I started speaking and doing webinars and trainings, and I went into public media and started, a website and newsletters and more trainings and conferences across the country. And eventually I wrote a book, The Insider's Guide to Online Fundraising, and that came out a couple of years ago. So I've really been involved in the nonprofit community, and that's sort of me. So I actually used to have a bird when I was growing up, and her name was Abigail. And Abigail was my buddy. I trained her to sit on my shoulder and walk around the house, and I used to play piano, and she would hop down onto the piano and jump around the keys. And I just loved waking up and Abigail would be singing. I loved the bird sounds, in the house. It just really brought a sense of joy to my life when I was growing up. And so I think that's just really why I have an affinity for birds. So From the Nest really comes from my branded logo that has a bird on it. And I am personally just very, I love birds. I'm passionate about birds. I just love the peaceful aspect of seeing them in flight, the freedom that is there, the the excitement. And I really love bringing those elements to my brand, to my Charity Jen brand. So when we're talking about From the Nest, what I see is just sort of this launching pad for stories and fundraising ideas to really take flight. So Charity Jen originated years ago when social media was just sort of booming, and I actually used it as my handle and my Instagram, Instagram account. Back then, I was really just sort of testing out these platforms just to understand them and understand how they could work for my nonprofit. So I think what I'm very excited for with the podcast is bringing these bringing voices together from the nonprofit field and sort of highlighting them, spotlighting them, and also sort of preserving the stories. I think that a lot of times when you go to a webinar or you go to a networking event, you meet really interesting people and you hear their amazing stories, and then the next day it's like, oh yeah, who is that person that I met? So I'm excited for the podcast to actually sort of capture these, and also for the audience to really hear their voices, learn from the successes that they've had. And I know that there are going to be elements to every episode that nonprofit professionals are going to be able to relate to, that people are going to, either see in their future or see as something they're working through now, or even something that they have been through in the past. And hopefully they'll pick up some, ideas and tips and tricks along the way. So we have a great lineup of professionals that are going to be joining us. So we have a few people who are early in their career and who've had success and experienced success through mentorships. Then we have individuals who are much further advanced in their career, who've been doing nonprofit fundraising for decades. And so we'll be hearing from, them. And we have a variety of, folks who are development directors, who are consultants, who are, executive directors of nonprofits working with very, very few resources. So it's an exciting lineup of different voices with different success stories. So it's going to be great.
Coming this summer, Olus Media is proud to present From the Nest with Charity Jen. If you have questions, comments, or even guest ideas, send them to jen@charityjen.com. That's Jen, Jen, @charityjen.com. To hear more From the Nest with Charity Jen, visit olusmedia.com.
This episode was produced by Olas Media Network in San Diego, California. Jessica Garcia serves as general manager. Lena Alvarez is associate producer. Elia Ramos is creative director. JC Polk is executive producer. And Chad Peace is our president and founding partner. Thank you for listening.
Olas Media.